Raising the Bets is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to Raising the Bets. We're a Catholic couple raising 5 kids outside of Boston. Join us as we share the joys and challenges of marriage, homeschool, and our adventures near and far as we make sense of the world and experience the best parts of our culture. I'm Tom Bettinelli.
And I'm Melanie Bettinelli.
Happy Easter, Melanie.
Happy Easter.
Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed. I'm sorry that I don't sound more enthusiastic. I am enthusiastic. I'm just also tired. It's been a long day.
This is every podcast we record on an Easter Sunday. We've done several of them by now. And this is
I thought
us.
we didn't normally do them on Easter Sunday because normally we're at your brother's house.
Yeah, we usually come back and record, I think.
No.
So this year was different because we didn't have Easter. Well, we usually have Easter dinner at our house, but usually afterward we'll go and visit my family at my brother's house. But this year was different. It's the first Easter without both my parents, so that was different and weird. It was weird not to hear my dad saying "Buona Pasqua."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whenever you see him, and plus my brother's out of town, so that's. They weren't there. So we're going to get together, I think, next week at Divine Mercy Sunday with the family, which would be nice. So we just had a quiet day at home with dinner here. We're not going to have our usual show with all the different segments we usually go through. We'll just kind of talk a little bit about Easter and what we experienced. But let's start with dinner. Right? We'll start at the end.
Okay.
So we had nothing too exciting, new, things we've had before. The supermarket had rib roast on awesome sale again, $6 a pound, which is fantastic. You didn't want ham or lamb.
Not especially, no.
You said that you didn't especially like lamb?
I feel like, I think I read something recently, actually, or a while back, about how, like, lamb has actually, it's not just my imagination that it's changed, like that it used to be more tender and less gamey and something about, and I can no longer remember the details about why it's changed and what exactly has changed about it, but it's just not as good. It's like tougher and it's just, it's not that tender falling apart cut of meat that it used to be.
But not like the prime rib was or the rib roast was.
But I think there is something, just in the same way that like Brussels sprouts taste better because they actually are different cultivar.
Right. They bred some of the bitterness out.
Yeah. Lamb actually tastes worse because it's like not as good.
I wonder if the Australian and New Zealand lamb, the imported stuff is still better.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's more expensive, certainly, so it could be.
In any case,
so no lamb. We've done grilled lamb in the past on Easter.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
But the kids also I think
kids don't really like it.
The kids don't really love it, and we always end up having like leftover chunks of it that I don't know what to do with.
Yeah. I think we still get some in the freezer from previous Easters. And then we decided not to get a ham. Well, not to have ham on Easter because we actually have ham during the year. It's not very special.
Ham to me has never felt like a really special meal. It's more like I like what I can do with the leftovers of the ham, but like eating ham as a meal is not my favorite.
Yeah. And because our supermarket will have ham on sale at different periods throughout the year. And we'll pick it up. And in fact, they had a super sale for Easter. So I grabbed one and threw it in the freezer. So we'll have that sometime later. Yeah. So, hey, I was all for it. I was like, hey, let's get a roast or something then. And then that's when we found out that they had the sale. So I don't know how is it a loss leader? It seems a new thing. This Christmas and Easter, they had this super sale on rib roast and I'm all for it. Let's do that every time. It came out really good, I think. And it's super easy to make. Just like in in a 250-degree oven for 3.5 hours or until it hits 125 internal. It could have even gone a little longer. Could have been a little more well done even than that, a little closer to medium. Then you let it sit for an hour, and then you throw it under the broiler for 5 minutes, and it's ready to cut. It was perfect. So
it was good.
It was good. And then we had mashed potatoes, and we had green beans and squash, like butternut squash, and challah bread that you made.
Yeah, and some pineapple and other fruits.
Yeah, pineapple and strawberries and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of simple, straightforward. Nothing too exotic. Nothing too wild this year. And then and key lime pie for dessert.
The key lime pie came out really good.
Because you had a bug about you settled early. I'm in the mood for key lime pie.
Yeah, pretty much. Nobody objected and everyone enjoyed it, so it worked.
Yep. Now I want a margarita. So all that lime. So so that's what we had for dinner. And, and like I said, we stayed home, so it was a quiet day. We decided to have dinner at dinner time as opposed to holiday dinner time, which is like 2. And so, which is kind of awkward because the kids are hungry by lunchtime at noon. So having dinner at like 1:30 or 2, it's kind of throws them off.
Yeah.
So we decided to just do like dinner time. So it was like 6 when we sat down to eat. So, and that worked out. And it meant for a relaxed day, pretty quiet day.
Yeah. I took a long walk with Bello. I read some. The kids had an Easter egg hunt and then played with some of their neighborhood kid friends.
Mm-hmm. And I played American Truck Simulator. Mm-hmm. It was on sale for $5. I'm like, I'm gonna buy it. My brother's a truck driver, so I can't wait to tell him all about how I can now do his job. Because I can do the American Truck Simulator and drive. And it's basically what you think. You're driving a semi down the road hours at a time, delivering loads from one place to another.
I just do not understand why this is a game that you would want to play.
It's like Flight Simulator.
I also don't understand that.
Get up in the air, you fly from Boston to Chicago, actually usually in Flight Simulator you start in Chicago Midway Airport and do other places. But yeah.
Okay.
It's a thing.
Sure.
There are people who play the Flight Simulator like multiplayer co-op, and you can actually do trucks the same way. But like they have people who play at being air traffic controllers and stuff. Like it is like super detailed. People really get into it.
Well, including the letter that you read from an advice column about the guy who thought that he was mad that his partner didn't introduce him as a pilot at a company party because he spent all this time on Flight Simulator that he thought of himself as a pilot,
even though he's never flown an actual plane.
Yeah, he didn't actually have a pilot's license.
He wanted his partner, his whatever girlfriend, to introduce him to other people as a pilot. What do? I'm a pilot.
No, you're not.
You're not a pilot. I don't care how.
From now on, every time I hear about Flight Simulator, I'm just going to think about the story.
I could dig that one up again.
I'm a pilot.
That was so bizarre. And then, I was saying that I should get my brother, the truck driver, a video game called American Podcast Simulator. He could do my job and I'll do his. So anyway, the reason we could spend so much time today is we went to the Easter Vigil for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time we did. I feel like it can't really have been as long as 10 years ago.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, I know for certain we all went together because that was the infamous Easter Vigil at which Sophie, who was 5, right? 10 years ago.
Yeah, she would have been 5.
She fell asleep during the readings in the dark and then woke up. You have to understand, when waking up Sophie, even today, waking up Sophie is a fraught business. She
does not wake up nicely.
She does not wake up nicely. And she, 10 years ago, screamed bloody murder in the pew. And then there was the whole thing where I had to evacuate. I've talked about it before on the podcast. So now I'm pretty sure that we've gone separately in small units to Easter Vigil.
I've taken one or two of the kids, or you've taken one or two of the kids.
Exactly. But I think this is the first time we've all been together to the vigil. We go to midnight mass all the time, but this was the vigil. And we hadn't decided on it until like Thursday or Wednesday. We had to figure out what we were doing for the Triduum. We'd put it off. And so we ended up going on Good Friday to our parish is part of a 3-parish collaborative community. Ours is St. Edith Stein. But our parish has a large is it the Cape Verdean or Haitian?
Cape Verdean.
Okay. Our parish has a large Cape Verdean community. One of the parishes has a large Haitian community. And then the third one is Anglo. It's, just a regular community of Irish immigrants and Italian immigrants or whatever. Our Lady of Lourdes. And so, or probably French, actually, now that I think about it.
I don't know. They're very white.
Yeah. We just put it that way. And, so that's where the English liturgies were going to take place. So we've been to Our Lady of Lourdes for Good Friday before. I think, in fact, we went last year, but we hadn't been there for the vigil. So we decided to go. And there was some question over, would it be too long for some kids? Because like Sophie's still an early to bed girl. She's still, 8 o'clock rolls around. She's ready to sleep.
And so is Ben.
So that's when the mass was starting. So we decided to go for it. They were game. So
in fact, they were the two most enthusiastic about going to the vigil.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. I had a coffee in the late afternoon. Sophie had a can of Coke, all in preparation, and they did fine. I mean, well, Ben was pretty sleepy by the end, but Sophie, you could have plugged a light bulb into her and it would have lit up. She was so excited by it.
Yeah, Anthony did fall asleep during the first half of mass.
Yes,
during the readings.
I kept having to wake him up because he was sleeping on my shoulder, and so I had to wake him up before we would stand after the readings. I was
thinking, like, the way the rhythm works, it's like reading, psalm, stand.
Yes.
Reading, psalm, stand. It's like the rhythm of the liturgy won't let you settle down for a long nap in the dark. Like after every psalm, you have to stand up again.
Now, there was some question was how many readings would we do? Because in case anyone listening is not familiar, there are 8 readings, 8 readings, 8 psalms, 8 prayers. And then some are optional. Like you do at least the first 3, I think, I think you
have to do at least Genesis and Exodus.
Yeah. Or even just Exodus 14, the whole Pharaoh in the parting the Red Sea. I know that one for sure you have to do, and the epistle and the gospel. I'm not sure you might have to do the Genesis one too. That's a good point. I forgot to look it up. So we'd start, get to Genesis, we get the second reading, which is the Abraham sacrificing Isaac.
In the past, when we've gone to the Easter Vigil, I know we've gone to the Easter Vigil at St. Edith Stein because I know we only did like maybe 3 or 4 of the readings.
Right. We got to Exodus, and that was the big question. It's like, are we going to do the one after Exodus?
And it was like Isaiah, I think.
I think so. It might be Ezekiel. Anyway, it ends. The priest's prayer ends. We sit, and then the lector goes. I'm like, all right, this is it. We're in for the long haul here. This is all we're going to do. All 9 readings.
We did,
and we did. Look, Father Matt is a former Marine infantry officer who is now a reserve Marine chaplain. He doesn't cut corners. If it says it's optional, it's mandatory. It's like we did everything.
And then we had 8 baptisms, which was awesome.
8 baptisms, confirmations, first communions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adults and children. Like there was some.
I think maybe the oldest was like a very young adult. She was not.
The woman that the little baby was reaching for.
She was maybe in 20s? Her early 20s.
Well, yeah, adult.
She looked really young. I mean, she could have also been an older teen. I had a hard time judging.
Okay, whatever. But there were 8 of them coming in.
Yeah,
and we had all of the incensing and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, unfortunately, the incense triggered an asthma attack for poor Ben.
Poor Ben.
I had originally thought I should give him his medicine before we go, because he usually takes it at 8. And then in the bustle of getting everybody ready, I forgot to give it to him.
Yeah.
And which meant that he'd passed the 24-hour mark on his asthma med, and
then incense.
Just
right.
Poor kid. He was coughing all up.
So there were some kids in the pew in front of us, 2 little kids, younger than ours, with their dad. And it turns out their mom was one of the lectors. And the girl, like, first reading in the dark, boom, out. And dad's like, I could see him shake her, like trying to wake her up. By the end of the 8 readings, the Old Testament readings before the lights came on, and the new before the gospel, by the end of the epistle, the boy was out too, and he was snoring. And and then the lights come on, the Gloria, the bells, the whole 9 yards. The boy's awake. What? Looking around. She was out. She didn't wake up 1 second the whole time. She was gone. It was so funny. Yeah. I love the candles. I love the ceremony of the Paschal candle being lit outside, the coming into the dark church, and
it's so beautiful.
Each little candle, one light spread but undimmed. I mean, it's such a beautiful symbol. It's one fire and shared, but it doesn't.
Sharing it doesn't diminish it. In fact, it makes it grow strong.
Yes.
Stronger.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, when people who don't have kids or only have 1 or 2 kids, like, they're like, I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough love for more kids. And like, love is like those candles. Like, the more you share it, the more like individual candles you have, the brighter the love is.
Right.
Like, it doesn't diminish by being shared among more people. It gets brighter.
Love is not a finite resource.
Yeah.
So
now attention might be, but not love.
Right. So, and then we have a new deacon this year. He's as I say, a baby deacon. He just was ordained this past year. It was his first Easter, and between the Good Friday and Easter Vigil, he was doing a lot of stuff, and I give him credit. Before I say anything, I give him all the credit in the world for getting up there and chanting and doing all the stuff. I mean, wow.
He chanted all the Exultet, not just because there's like an optional short form. He did not go for the optional short form.
Like I said, Father Matt does not cut corners. I don't think he was allowed to cut, but so it's just the poor guy can't carry a tune in a bucket. Like, he hit every possible note twice, going up and coming down so many times. He's probably been arrested for assault and battery. I mean, it was all over the place.
It was a little ragged.
But hey, that's not the point. And in fact, we were talking about, like, there was all kinds of, flubs and weird things, and the sound system was kind of off.
The sound system was not doing the cantors any favors. That's for sure.
And yet, it was still the beautiful high mass of the year, the vigil. I mean, I don't care how ragged your mass is, your parish, your music ministry, and all that sort of stuff. If you celebrate with joy and love and openness to the Holy Spirit, it's going to be better than, or as good as, not going to be better than, but as good as the high mass at St. Peter's, or fill in another mass there.
But the thing is, what matters is not how beautiful the music is, or how polished the lectors are, or any of that, or how beautifully choreographed it is. Those are nice.
Mm-hmm.
The flowers are nice and everything. But what matters is, like, Jesus is risen from the dead.
Right.
And I think that in some ways, having this was probably the most ragged liturgy I've seen, in terms of, like, things just kind of were falling apart all over the place. And yet I felt more like present, like my mind wasn't wandering. I wasn't feeling restless or tired or irritable. I was just, like, really happily present, joyfully in the moment through the whole thing. And I'm not sure I've ever, I love the Easter Vigil. I'm not sure I've ever had such a peaceful, joyful Easter Vigil before. At the same time, I've never had one that was more imperfect. It was this beautiful paradox.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So it was 2.5 hours.
It was
not the longest Easter Vigil I've ever been to.
When we the kids were asking how long was it going to be, I was like, oh, probably about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half to 2, maybe. Yeah. 2.5 hours. Steubenville, when I was there, it was 4 hours if it was a minute. They would go on and on and on. And I mean, and you just didn't notice. And you're a college student, so you don't. But yeah, it would start like at 7:30, and you'd be getting out at midnight. I remember that. So it wasn't nearly that late for us, but so it was a late night, but it was beautiful. Okay, so Father Matt's homily, once again, Father, boom, out of the park. It was really good, such a good homily. It was an enthusiastic, passionate call to go out and spread the good news. In fact, at one point, he told everyone to take out their cell phones.
And so, everyone kind of like stared at him. Like
he's like, no, take it out. I know you got it. Take it out. It's in your pocket there. Come on. I know you have it. Don't pretend you don't have it. Bring it out. Now open it up to whatever social media site that you like, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Just open it up. And I want you to post that you're here at Mass for the Easter Vigil.
Yep.
And he said, now that is now an invitation for everyone on your friend list to ask you about your faith. And yeah, this is the sort of thing I was trying to promote when I was at the Archdiocese, like encourage people to, remember when check-ins were a thing?
Uh-huh.
People would check in at a place through even whole social networks for like, what was it? Oh, there was one that was started with an S. I forget now. Square or something.
I never understood the whole check-in thing, but
yeah, and you become mayor of the place because you go there so much and you check in there so much. I was like the mayor of a gas tank along the Southeast Expressway because I would check in while I was in traffic going into work. Yeah. Hey, it's something to do while you're sitting in bumper to bumper traffic in Boston. Anyway, but the thing was like check in at church. If the average person the average person had 200 Facebook friends. If everybody in a parish checked in, and just even half of those people that you're friends with are not in your parish, which is statistically unlikely. It's likely that much fewer are people in your parish. But even if half of them are people not in your parish, that's if everyone in the church did it, we're talking thousands of people would see people checking in at Easter Vigil. Thousands would, and then Facebook would be filled, or Twitter would be filled with people who are professing their faith that I go to church on Easter. So that was part of his homily. I also liked where he brought up the harrowing of hell, where the image of Jesus going down to the hell of the just, as the Father put it, which is where all of those righteous souls who died before the resurrection went and were brought out and brought to heaven with Jesus. And he talked about there's two images that come from pious legend. It's not a church teaching. One is that the people who met him at the entrance there were Adam and Eve. They were the first.
Although I have to say that the Liturgy of the Hours, which is the official prayer of the church, includes the ancient homily for Easter Saturday, which tells the story of Jesus going down and pulling Adam and Eve out of hell. So it might not be official church teaching, but it's certainly there in the official liturgy of the church.
Well, yes, but there's lots of stuff in those homilies and readings.
It's still, I mean, it when you say it's not official church teaching, it makes it sound like it's kind of like
you don't have it
out there.
Well, you don't have to accept it as as gospel truth. You don't have to accept it as a doctrine. Put it that way, because there's another one. There's another pious legend, which is that it was Joseph who was the first person that Jesus met.
Right. There's a beautiful poem that circulates every year by a sister, Mary Ada, I think, in which she imagines Jesus meeting Joseph when he goes down to...
Both of which are beautiful. And maybe they were together. Maybe Joseph was like, here, my son's coming. Stand with me up front here by the door.
Right. I like that.
Yep. So
there was actually, I found a beautiful video on YouTube that was an animation that showed the crucifixion, Jesus being placed in the tomb, and then descending to the underworld, and then bringing up Adam and Eve and all the souls. It was like maybe 5-minute video. It was gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. I loved it. We should put that in the show notes.
All right. Let's send me a link and I'll include that. Awesome. So, and yeah, that was in Father Matt's out of the ballpark homily, which was really nice, and that was about it. And now we head into Easter week. We continue to celebrate every day this week. Does that mean we have cake and ice cream every day?
Not necessarily.
My doctor would say, don't do that. But we will be celebrating.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I love about praying the Liturgy of the Hours is that during the octave of Easter, every single day is Sunday's prayers, like morning prayer and evening prayer.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same every day. It's Sunday every day. It's a week of Sundays.
Right. The octave means it's the Sunday to Sunday, from Easter Sunday to the following Sunday, which is Divine Mercy Sunday. But the church, these feasts are so big, Christmas and Easter, they're so big that we celebrate them the day for 8 days. So all week, every day, it's like Sunday.
Yeah, I love that.
It's pretty cool.
You know, there's a colloquial phrase like, something like a month of Sundays.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this is literally a week of Sundays.
It's a week of Sundays.
It's a week of Sundays.
In a good way. All right, so we're doing a shorter show than usual today, just because we're tired, and we didn't want to leave you without anything. And by the time we got to next Sunday, we'll have forgotten.
Yeah,
it'll be old. We'll have new stuff to talk about. We had lots going on this week, so we'll have something new to talk about. But for now, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Raising the Bets, including Peter D., Ivan I., Father Carl W., Diane S., and Martin G. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Raising the Bets and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And that's it for this time. Find links from our discussion in our show notes at sqpn.com/bets. That's BETTS. Send your feedback at the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send us an email at bets@sqpn.com or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. Follow Raising the Bets in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at the StarQuest YouTube channel, where you should also make sure to hit the bell to get notifications. Until next time, I'm Dom Bettinelli.
And I'm Melanie Bettinelli.
Thank you for listening to Raising the Bets on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy, Pray Station Portable. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found, or at starquest.fm/PSP.